Well, we had some big news from the campaign trail last hour. A new Bloomberg poll shows Mitt Romney well ahead of President Obama among a critical group of voters, independents. Take a look at the numbers. He leads the president now by 49 to 41%. Joining me now to react, former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney. Governor, what do you make of that? Because the independents will be a key voting bloc come November.
Well, there's no question in my mind, but the Republican Party will come together. President Obama has convinced us we've got to get him out of office. And the key will be to get the independent voters, Hispanic voters, women voters, independents to come together and support us as well. And I believe if I'm the nominee, I can get that job done and we can finally get President Obama out of office.
Is he getting too cocky? You look at that lead you have with the independents. He said recently he's got 5 more years as president. Does he assume too much?
Well, he, of course, wants to put as positive a shine out as he can, but the reality is that this is going to be a tough battle. He's got a terrible record. 24 million people out of work or underemployed, gas prices twice as high as when he took office, national debt $15.5 trillion. He's got a lot of explaining to do. And I think he understands this is going to be a tough battle for him to get reelected. I expect to be able to beat him if I can get that nomination first. Now, you say it's a delegate count at this point, but of course your rivals for the GOP nomination are pointing to the fact that you came in third last night in Alabama and in Mississippi, states in which you were expected to do well and might possibly have even won, but did not. I want to show you a little bit of what Newt Gingrich said to our own Brett Baer last night.
I think, frankly, Governor Romney, for the front runner, was remarkably weak tonight. 2 out of every 3 delegates chosen in Mississippi and Alabama will be either for Santorum or Gingrich. They won't be for Romney. So phase 1 of this campaign has to be, is Romney inevitable? Because everybody in the media told us he was over and over and over again. I think with each passing week, he looks a little bit less inevitable.
Your response?
Well, if I'm a weak frontrunner, what does that make Newt Gingrich? So I'm glad that I've got, I think, about twice as many delegates as anyone else in the process. But this is ultimately a question about who can get the support of the Republican Party and independents to be able to win the White House. And I'm very pleased with the fact that over the last several contests, I've earned 1 million more votes than has either Senator Santorum or Speaker Gingrich from the Republicans in these contests. And the reason I've done that is because my message about strengthening our economy and putting people back to work and seeing rising incomes, lowering gas prices, this economic message is connecting with voters across the country. That's why I'm leading in that vote tally and why I believe I'll continue to lead in that vote tally and become the nominee.
You know the counter argument to that. Your rivals pointed out, your critics pointed out, half of the voters in Alabama and Mississippi said you were not conservative enough. The AP headline this morning was Romney's losses in Alabama and Mississippi underscore a stark reality. The core of his party does not want him.
Well, I'm sorry. They have to go back and look at some other states that actually are kind of important. Let's say Florida, for instance, where I won, and Michigan, and Ohio, and Nevada, and New Hampshire. And the list goes on. Last night, by the way, they're forgetting there were a couple of other contests, including Hawaii, where I won. Oh, and by the way, last night I got more delegates than anybody else. So this is a process of becoming the nominee. We're pursuing that in an intelligent way. And conservatives, when you ask in these, prior elections, who as conservatives did you vote? I won the conservative vote. Some who are very conservative may not be yet in my camp, but they will be when I become the nominee, when I face Barack Obama. Because again, what the nation wants is someone who understands the economy, not if you will, an economic lightweight. I mean, Senator Santorum's a nice guy, but he does not understand how the economy works. He's never had a job in the real economy. You have to understand this economy to be able to fix it.
You've suggested that he, just this week, is less conservative than you are, Santorum is, at least economically, when it comes to fiscal matters, that he is not to your right on those issues. He apparently wasn't too happy with that statement and went on Laura Ingram's radio show and said this.
It's funny coming from Mitt Romney, who donated to Planned Parenthood and went to fundraisers for Planned Parenthood. This is one of the most liberal guys we've ever had, and for him to out there and attack me as being a moderate is just truly laughable.
Your thoughts, sir?
Well, first of all, as you pointed out, I was talking about his economic record. He voted to raise the debt ceiling 5 times without compensating cost cuts. He voted, as a matter of fact, to put money into Planned Parenthood. Millions of dollars into Planned Parenthood. So his record is one of not being as fiscally conservative as it might be. And by the way, it's kind of interesting hearing him say those things when just 4 years ago on the same program, he said to Laura he was supporting my candidacy for president because I'm a conservative, a real conservative, he said. So obviously when, campaigns get tough and you get towards the end of this process and you're way behind in delegates, you say some things which may be contradicting what you said only 4 years ago.
He's calling on Gingrich to get out of this race now, saying Santorum is officially the not Romney. You've seen a lot of not Romneys in this campaign. He says it's him for sure now, Santorum. Do you agree that Newt Gingrich should get out of this race now? Start with him.
I don't think it's my place to tell other candidates when they should stay in or whether they should get out. This is Newt's decision. He can do what he thinks is in his best interest and what's in the best interest of the country. And I'm just not going to give him advice on that at this point. This is for him.
He does not want you to get this nomination. There are reports out now quoting him, quoting his senior advisors, as saying at this point it is about making sure you don't get to the magic delegate number and that they're going to stay in this as long as possible to prevent you from doing that. Any regrets on going after him so hard with the negative ads, in particular in advance of Iowa now?
I sure hope that those quotes that you described aren't accurate, because Newt and his wife are friends, and I hope that what they're focusing on is the country and who can do the best job, one, replacing Barack Obama, and number two, returning to America the principles and values that made us the hope of the earth. We've got a president who has made our economy less productive, less able to provide for our people, a president who's shrinking our military, a president who's turning America into something we wouldn't recognize. And so replacing the president has got to be our priority, not stopping one candidate or another. This is a bigger matter than replacing one person with another. It's about saving the soul of America.
One thing the president had when he was running for election last time around, and you were in that race for a while, so you know, was he seemed to have an ability to connect with and inspire people, and you know that this time around you've been criticized as someone who doesn't have that ability. Some have said our president doesn't have it as president versus as a campaigner either. But this has been a recurring theme with you. And they point to things like you've been making some gaffes, Governor. You're talking about people ask you about football, and you talk about how you know the NFL owners. They ask you about NASCAR, and you talk about how you know some, racing owners. You talk about Ann's 2 Cadillacs, and people say, he can't relate. He's so rich. He can't relate to the rest of us. Why do you keep doing that?
Megan, guess what? I made a lot of money. I've been very successful. I'm not going to apologize for that. I know the DNC tries to push this out, and they get it on the mainstream media networks, and that's where you guys see it, and everybody laughs about it, because in this country, we want someone who can help other people become successful. This is a nation which is not going to choose our president based on these little innuendos and personal attacks. We're going to choose a president based on keeping America safe, keeping Iran from having a nuclear weapon, restoring freedom in this country, retaining the ability of Americans to have confidence that their kids' future is brighter than their own past. This is what America's looking for. They want a real leader in the White House for the first time in 3 years. And I believe that I can bring that to this White House.
You're struggling, though, with the folks who make less than $100,000. Even in the states you've won, you've struggled with that.
No, let me tell you.
In Ohio?
You don't win 1 million more votes than anyone else in this race by just appealing to high-income Americans. I've been able to have support from people, Tea Party supporters, men and women. I've got good support with women in our party. You just saw the poll that you showed me with independents. Those aren't all wealthy people. Right? These are average Americans.
Most of America is not.
Yeah, most of America is not. These are Americans that want someone who can help us as a nation lift our citizens with better jobs and better incomes and can get America strong again. I know how to do that. I understand the economy, not because I've debated the economy in a subcommittee of Congress. I understand the economy because I've been in it. Yeah. I've lived it. And if we're going to get someone to help get this country on track again, it's going to have to be someone from outside Washington who's had the real experience of creating jobs. I have. One
thing that's been an albatross around your neck, not from your campaign's perspective, but from Rick Santorum's, is Romney Care. Our viewers know, obviously, that you backed that in Massachusetts, and they want to know whether this is going to be an issue for you against Barack Obama. You have said repeatedly, look, I'm for states figuring out what they want to do. That's what Massachusetts did. I don't back a national mandate, a national health care program like we've seen with the president's health care law. Mm-hmm. But now, on the internet and otherwise, some people are circulating a clip of you back in the last campaign during an ABC News debate in which Charlie Gibson asked you a question about national mandates, and you seemed to back them. I'm going to play you the clip and then give you the chance to respond. Here it is.
The Romney system has mandates in Massachusetts, although you've backed away from mandates on a national basis.
No, I like mandates. The mandates work.
Beg your pardon?
I didn't
know you were going to admit that.
No, absolutely.
You like mandates.
Let me tell you what kind of mandates I like, Fred, which is this. If
the ones you come up with.
Here's my view. If somebody can afford insurance and decides not to buy it, and then they get sick, they ought to pay their own way, as opposed to expect government to pay their way. And that's an American principle. That's a principle of personal responsibility.
So Charlie Gibson said that you had backed away from mandates on a national basis, and you said, no, I like mandates.
You know, as you said, as you introduced this topic, people have looked at this topic 100 times, more than 100 times. I have allowed and agree that a state should have the capacity if it wants to have a health care mandate. We had that in my state.
Well, why'd you say that there about the national mandate?
You know, time and again, I pointed out I'm not in favor of a health care plan that includes a national mandate. I do not include that. And we can go through all of the clips from all of the debates. I put a presentation together describing my health care plan when I ran last time, and in that I said not national program, state by state. Let each state craft its own program. Look, this thing. If you want to go back to, all right, the answer is I believe that we should get rid of Obamacare. It's a disaster.